But you can see on the side-by-side here that with the 13-inch, you just have a little bit less computer to deal with. Hey, it's Chris. Today, I'm gonna be unboxing and giving you my first impressions on 2 of the brand new M3 MacBook Airs. Talk about minimal package design, right? Now, the modern MacBook Air, it's really crafted for the modern professional and creative spirit. With Apple's goal being, I think, to blend elegance, power, and endurance into one sleek and portable package. Now, this first one I'm taking the wraps off of is the brand new blue, midnight blue, 15-inch, which comes with this really nice color match braided cable. And as I open up this 13-inch here, let me remind you that the MacBook Air actually debuted in 2008, and it was hailed at the time as the world's thinnest laptop. And I absolutely can't wait to get my hands on testing out this beautiful, sleek 13-inch here, which of course is the Starlight color, which to me actually feels a little bit champagne-y. You can see we got the same nice color match braided cable here as well, both of those MagSafe. Now, I don't know about you, but when I think MacBook Air, I think thin, and these are definitely thin. I'm actually gonna compare them a little bit later in the video for you to the current iPad Pro, which we may get replaced very soon, hopefully, and my MacBook Pro, which is obviously thicker, and my previous Midnight MacBook Air, so you can see the difference because they changed up the anodization process just a little bit to show less fingerprints. So I don't know if you have a color preference right off the bat. We'll talk more about the colors as the video progresses, but I wanna hear the comments. Which of these 2 is gonna end up being your personal preference? Now, this current design here could be considered part of the 4th major iteration. We saw significant redesigns in 2010, which introduced the tapered design. 2018 got the Retina display, the USB-C, and then the transition to Apple Silicon in 2020, which brought the same design ethos and dramatically improved performance that we see today. Of course, we still have Touch ID, so I'm setting up my fingerprint here, and I like that. I like Face ID better, wish it would come to the Mac, but Touch ID is fine, it works good. In terms of the colors, you might remember the first MacBook Air only came in silver. So these days, there's definitely a lot more room for personalization. Out of these 2 colors, I would say you're looking at this midnight blue if you want more of a sophisticated, deep, dark color that kind of stands out. And then I'd say you're looking at the Starlight here if you're looking for something that's more subtle, that's maybe more of a versatile finish, that's really gonna complement anything, anywhere. Now, something to note here, the finish on the midnight blue is a little different than the last midnight finish. Looks very similar, right? But it's not gonna show fingerprints like the old one. Or at least we'll see as I test this out, but already you can tell it really doesn't look anything like the streaks and the oils that would get left behind with the other one. And I'm gonna be honest here, I do see some fingerprinting even with this new anodization process. So it's not perfect, but I just said in my long-term review of the M1, which I've been using for a long time, that it really doesn't bother me. All right, let's talk a little bit about the size here. I'm gonna overlay these for you so you can see the footprint and how they differ. The 15-inch is obviously all about the screen size, and it's ideal for people who are needing that for creative work. If you need extra screen real estate from multitasking, then the 15-inch is probably what you wanna go with. The 13-inch, on the other hand, is obviously for those of you who value ultra portability and a compact form factor. Now, if you're wondering, and as you might have suspected, there is a little bit of a weight difference. The 13-inch here is 2.7 pounds, 3.3 pounds. So there is a little bit of a sacrifice there for that extra screen size. So what about battery life? Does the bigger form factor of the 15-inch actually give you a better battery? Well, the answer is no. They have very similar rated battery, meaning you're gonna get about 18 hours of video playback. Let me break in really quickly and just let you know I've got a new course that you can pre-order if you wanna get into freeform and go way beyond the basics. Check out Freeform Unleashed. That's the name of the new course. It's available for pre-order for 50% off until it comes out in just under a month and a half. There's so much I wanna share and teach you about freeform. My freeform content on YouTube has been viewed over 1 million times in total, and I've got over 700 satisfied customers from the productivity course. By the way, you can still order that if you'd like to get more done in less time in the Apple ecosystem with less burnout. Both of those are linked up down below. The port situation is also the same on both of these. You got 2 Thunderbolts or USB 4 ports there, along with the MagSafe charger, as well as the good old familiar headphone jack there for those of you that still appreciate it. I actually don't really envy anybody having to choose between these because the grass is gonna be a little greener on either side of the fence here. Look, I'm holding this in one hand, no hand fatigue. I mean, this thing is so portable, the 13-inch here. If anything deserves to be named the Air, it's the 13-inch. The 15-inch is great, it's thin, but it almost should be called something else. It's not that it's super heavy, don't get me wrong. I mean, it's a nice, thin, very portable laptop. It's just the 13-inch fits the name perfectly, whereas yeah, it also applies to the 15-inch. Just to give you a little bit of context, I'm gonna show you that that's about how different the screen size is when you look at it up close. The icons though are noticeably smaller on the 13-inch. I mean, it's the same setup icons on both of these, but they are smaller on the 13-inch. I mean, stuff gets a little more compacted on the smaller Air. That's just the way that it goes. And hopefully you can notice it here with the lighting, but you do get a slightly smaller. Let me see if I can get you a better view of that, because yeah, it's a noticeable difference. Now, it's not like the keyboards are gonna be way different. You still have the same arrow keys, for instance, the same function keys. Everything's nice and spaced out on both of these. I believe they're identical. But you can see on the side-by-side here that with the 13-inch, you just have a little bit less computer to deal with. And that does come in handy if you're someone who travels a lot. And you can see on the 15-inch, it just fits a little more text there. I can see iPhone 15 Pro underneath the MacBook Air ad, and I'm just getting a little bit of that black space over here on the 13-inch. So I'm kind of missing out on a little bit. That's not a huge deal, but it does illustrate. I mean, you do get more screen real estate, and there are some times, depending on your sort of work, where maybe that's useful. Now, I also went ahead and I scooted the web browser over to the right and to the left on each of these. And you can see that's how much leftover space I have on each of these if I wanna put in maybe a note or something to do some multitasking. So you get a lot more space on the 15-inch versus the 13-inch for certain tasks. Things like videos, things like creative work are going to look really nice here. But even if you're coming from the M1, let's say, which is the version that I personally own, then you're gonna notice a difference in terms of the brightness and the color accuracy on the M3 version here. And if you're upgrading from the Intel version, then the screen is going to look night and day different, that's for sure. I mean, these are for entertainment rather than professional use, although you can do professional things on them, and the line is getting blurrier all the time thanks to Apple's great advancements with their screen tech. But that said, it's going to do its duty. When it comes to entertainment, you're gonna enjoy it, it's gonna look good, you're not gonna be disappointed. As you can see, really nice, vibrant colors. Things look as crispy as you need them to at this price point. I'll let you be the judge. I'm not doing any lighting effects or anything here in terms of the deepness and of the blacks. Again, this isn't OLED, but you can see how it holds up, at least from out of my cameras here. Now, something that's the same though on both of these is that you have the same memory and storage configuration options regardless of the size that you go with. 512 gigs is gonna be ideal and suitable for light computing, everyday tasks. By the time you're getting up to 1 or 2 terabytes, you're gonna have to be like a creative professional or somebody who wants to try to future-proof this purchase and have it last further into the future. So if you're working with large files or an extensive media library, that's where your 1 to 2 terabytes is gonna come in handy. And it's cool that that's even an option here, to be honest, because especially if you are trying to be portable, it's nice to not have to bring a portable SSD with you. As convenient, and price effective as that can be, it's cheaper to do that instead of upgrade your internal storage. Really cool option to be able to keep all that storage completely internal. Now let's talk about RAM. The more RAM you get, the smoother things are gonna run. And if you're gonna do any sort of, really intensive video editing or anything similar to that, very professional work, then you're gonna want more RAM. However, 24 gigs is really catering to people with very intense needs and workflows. You're gonna wanna subscribe as I test this and put it through the ringer, go about my average work day with each of these and kind of see what is it like to use, how did things hold up with some intense, very creative things. The stuff that you probably use, Adobe's Creative Suite, Final Cut Pro, things like that. Definitely interested in trying some local LLMs here. Now you got a liquid retina display on here. What does that mean? That means wallpapers are going to look gorgeous. If you want to check out some of the new ones that I have to offer, I'm gonna link that up down in the description. Oh, that's actually not what you're curious about. Yeah, let's say you're coming from an M1, which a lot of people are. They like to buy one and skip a generation or more because Apple devices tend to last for quite a long time. You are going to notice a performance boost, particularly in the GPU capabilities and efficiency. So it's gonna make even demanding tasks smoother and more responsive. Faster speeds, better multitasking, improved graphics performance for both of these over the M1. If you're coming from an Intel, you're honestly living in a completely different world. These are going to feel so far apart from your current experience that they're not even going to seem like they're from the same century. Now at the base of the screen where the hinge is, I'm guessing you're not going to be able to see at this angle what I want you to see, which is where some of the heat gets vented. Because if you're coming from an Intel version of the Air, the thermal management is one of the specific areas where you're going to be like, oh wow, this manages heat so much better. I also don't want to oversell it though. I mean, if you're familiar with the M1, then you're already pretty familiar with the performance boost that you get with Apple Silicon. Quick note for people considering maybe the MacBook Air versus the iPad Pro, I'll do a whole video once the new iPad Pro comes out comparing these two, because I know that's been a very popular comparison on the channel here in the past and people are going to want to know. And usually the reason is because the price ends up being fairly similar. But I will say, if you really prioritize touch interactivity using a stylus, the iPad Pro makes a very compelling choice. However, what do you miss out on? You miss out on macOS, and there are certain things that an iPad just can't do. I'll give you an example. Now that you can do Final Cut Pro video editing over on the iPad Pro, that's very cool, but you can't do something like use the Autopod AI editing podcast plugin, which is only available for Adobe Premiere, which makes editing a 2-hour podcast happen in like 10 minutes or 5 minutes maybe. You miss out on some of the plugins. So there's just pros and cons. There's advantages and disadvantages, which I'll fully explore and spell out for you as soon as the new iPad Pro comes out. Now, not long ago, I did a review and unboxing of the best MacBook Pro, the most powerful, the biggest that Apple has to offer in the new black color. And what I'll say is the MacBook Pro is suited for power users, and I mean power users who need the utmost performance, especially in CPU and GPU intensive tasks. The Air though, with the M3, by contrast, sort of offers this sweet spot, some balance between those professionally demanding tasks and portability. It really skews towards portability and can also do a little bit more professional tasks. It depends on your job description. What I would certainly say is that if you consider yourself an average, everyday sort of user, then the M3 Airs are right up your alley. This is your computer. Don't forget to check out the new course. You can pre-order it if you want to get into freeform in a very interesting, meaningful way and go way beyond the basics. Freeform Unleashed, my new course, which you can pre-order today, which is coming out in a little less than a month and a half, is going to be perfect for you. Thanks for hanging out today, and I'll catch you in the next video. Later.